All right, guys, what's going on? Levi Trumbull reporting here. So before we close out 2023, we actually have a very big development on a story that this channel exclusively broke earlier in the year. As I was going through my catalog of stories that we have discussed all throughout the year, I wanted to see if there was anything, any particular story that perhaps needed expanded upon, or to see if there was any developments as it relates to any of the stories that we have talked about this year. And in doing that final review of all of those stories, we actually found a major development that perhaps we even should have brought you guys sooner, but nonetheless, we are getting to it right now. We're not too far behind, and it definitely should come to light because it is a significant development as it relates to a story that, again, we first broke. So if you guys will remember, about 3 months ago, we brought you a story about an individual named Emily Kay Litten, a 20-year-old woman from Allegany County who was indicted. She was indicted on May 17th, 2023. We have the indictment right here. We brought it to you back then. But if you guys will recall, we brought you that story about this woman who was indicted on 4 counts, and that was number 1, the possession of fentanyl. The second count was the possession of fentanyl with the intention to distribute, and we're going to put these on the screen as we go through them. The third count, if you will remember, she was indicted for carrying a large portion of fentanyl, which the indictment reads was 31.9 grams of fentanyl. And then finally, the fourth count she was indicted for was for possession of the drug MDMA. So as you know, she was indicted for that. She was arrested. Here was her booking photograph from that time when she was arrested in May of this year. We're going to put that up on the screen. You can see that there before you. That was then. So moving forward, on May 26, 2023, earlier in the year, the Circuit Court for Allegany County, Maryland, released Emily Kay Litten on what is called pretrial release. We have that right here. And the special conditions of that pretrial release state level 2 pretrial supervision with conditions that include totally abstaining from unprescribed medications and alcohol. So if you guys are unfamiliar, that's something that they do here in Maryland. They will release you on special conditions called pretrial supervision, which essentially, if you follow X, Y, and Z guidelines, you are eligible for release, but there are certain things that you have to follow, certain criteria which you must adhere to in order to be continually eligible for what is called pretrial supervision, pretrial release. Moving forward in the case, Emily would retain a public defender who would enter his appearance and go on to represent her. But then things start to get pretty interesting, and this is where the breaking news, the development comes in that that is new to this audience. On November 2nd, an Allegany Circuit Court judge would actually issue a bench warrant for the rearrest of Emily. Now, once that bench warrant was laid down, it was later served on November 6th. And if you take a look at that bench warrant, it reads as Emily was being rearrested, this time for a violation of pretrial release. So remember, as we told you about earlier, in the state of Maryland, when you're released on pretrial release, there are stipulations, guidelines, things that a defendant will need to adhere to in order to be continually eligible to maintain that pretrial release. And if you violate that, you can be rearrested. In this case, that's exactly what the state was saying was happening. She was violating the terms of that pretrial release, so she needed to be brought back before the court, subsequently rearrested, and that is what happened. So again, that bench warrant was issued on November 2nd, and that bench warrant was served on November 6th. So here is that booking photograph of Emily on November 6th. When she was rearrested, this time for a violation of pretrial release. Now, you can see her right there, but this is actually, one day later, is really where the story gets interesting, because it would only be just 1 day later that Emily would be brought back before the Allegany Circuit Court, this time for a hearing. And at this hearing, all 4 charges, as laid out in the indictment, would all be dropped. That's right, all be dropped, totally. So they rearrested her, they brought her back before the court on what was described as a pretrial release violation, only just to drop the whole case 1 day later. So again, I just want to reiterate, all 4 charges in that indictment that all had to do with the possession and distribution of fentanyl, along with the 1 count that was for MDMA, they all got dismissed, they all got dropped. The state entered what is known as a non-prosecution disposition, meaning that they just didn't want to move forward with the case for whatever reason. So obviously, to her, that is a favorable disposition, and we thought that that should be notated moving forward. We thought that was important to add to the story. Obviously, with a story like this, it is very important that if you choose to cover something like this, you should take it to the end. So again, like we always say, innocent until proven guilty. In this case, this young woman was not proven guilty, so therefore, I feel comfortable technically, lawfully, calling her innocent. Hey, what's the problem with that? That's how it should work. And another piece of advice that I would have for her is she should go down and have these charges expunged expeditedly to get them completely off her record. Again, with this non-prosecution disposition from the state, she is entitled to seek that relief, and she can get that done very promptly if she wishes to. So that's the update right there, guys. 20-year-old Emily Kay Litten from Allegany County, Maryland, is innocent, lawfully innocent, of the indictment which was brought forth against her earlier this year, alleging she had committed felonies as it relates to the possession and distribution of fentanyl, along with a MDMA charge. Levi Trumbull reporting in Frederick.